He's almost 60 years old. He's Mike Tyson, but he's 60 years old. And he knew that Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. So you knew what you were going to get.
Dana White just roasted the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight, calling it a Showtime boxing event. And honestly, what else would you expect from such a disastrous mismatch? Mike Tyson, a boxing legend, is up against a YouTuber who can't even throw a punch without possibly injuring his wrist. It's truly embarrassing to see a real fighter like Tyson paired with someone who's more known for online antics than actual boxing skills.
Tyson's just been beat off Jake Paul. But how? Mike Tyson's an absolute legend and one of the greatest fighters of all time. How can this YouTuber beat such a great fighter? Well, X has spoken.
But it gets even worse when you look at the whole fight like a scripted show. Seriously, are we all really going to act like we're watching real boxing? Or are we just here for the next episode of Who's Faking It Better?
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight wasn't just a boxing match. It was a media wildfire that kept burning long after the event was over. All that was left behind were controversies and rumors about what really went down. The drama started way before the first bell even rang, all because of a leaked fight script.
Well, X has spoken. The fight was scripted. Everyone is talking about this on X, and the script was actually leaked on X a few days ago.
Well, X, who's spoken, this fight was scripted. Everyone's buzzing about it on X. And the script actually leaked there just a few days before the event. Yes, you read that right. A full script detailing every moment of the fight. And we're not talking about vague guesses. This script spelled out the punches, the moves, and even a supposed knockout by Tyson in the 5th round. Are we really going to watch fights like they're just another soap opera now?
The bell rings, Tyson is showing flashes of his old form, which actually happened. As soon as the bell went, Mike Tyson came out with that head movement, pushing forward. Immediately, he stalks forward with his signature bob and weave style.
The opening move, a classic bob and weave, was spot on with what the script described. Jake Paul's footwork was nearly identical to what the script predicted. At first, people brushed it off as a coincidence, but as the fight continued and more of the script's details matched up, the idea of it being a scripted performance started to seem a lot more believable.
And it was a bit of a shit show, but, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, were you like, holy fuck, I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time?
Then Dana White stepped in, and he had some strong opinions. You could practically hear the steam coming out of his ears. The UFC boss didn't hold back, ripping apart the entire event. He called it more of a circus act than a real fight, claiming it was an insult to true athletes and a slap in the face to boxing itself.
So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds...
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
And making a living at it. I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody. Mike's 58 years old. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
I hate doing this because Mike gets mad at me every time I do.
But wait, it gets even better. White's anger wasn't just about what happened in the ring. It was about something much bigger. Jake Paul, an influencer turned fighter, has been drawing millions of viewers for every fight he's in. Meanwhile, UFC champions struggle to get the same level of attention. It doesn't take much to see that White's frustration comes from the fact that exhibition boxing, and Jake Paul specifically, are stealing the spotlight from UFC fighters. His critique wasn't just about this fight, it was a warning about where the sport could be headed if this trend keeps going. I completely agree with Dana White because, honestly, what's the point of building a career in fighting when a YouTuber can pull in more views? This shortcut seems insane.
The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script.
How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just...
Scripted in what way?
No, I don't know. I actually really like Jake Paul.
And just when you think this spectacle couldn't get messier, let's talk about the fight itself. Was it all staged? Was Tyson in on it?
Oh, you're right, Roy. He's turning into a boxer.
Yeah, good shot by Mike.
And again, the left hook.
Good shot by Mike.
Don't measure.
Referee Mark Calloy warning Paul not.
Add in the strange behavior of the referees, who seemed overly involved in every exchange, and the complete lack of urgency from either fighter to finish the fight quickly, and you've got a recipe for controversy. For some, these were clear red flags that something was off. For others, they were just awkward moments in an already bizarre matchup. But the big question still lingers. Was this all part of the performance?
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, and Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time. I mean, if you didn't think that that's the way the fight, I don't know what people expect.
White's words cut through all the noise. He made it clear that, in his view, this wasn't a fight, it was theater. By saying this, he highlighted a bigger issue, the growing trend of prioritizing viral moments over the integrity of sports. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is certain. White's fiery critique has added yet another layer of drama to an already controversial event.
Mike Tyson's just been beat off Jake Paul. But how? Mike Tyson's an absolute legend and one of the greatest fighters of all time. How can this YouTuber beat such a great fighter?
The script's description of round one was almost a perfect match to what actually happened in the ring. Tyson came out with his signature bob and weave, charging forward and pushing Jake to stay on the move. Paul, younger and more agile, used his footwork to keep his distance, landing a few light jabs to take control. This scenario played out exactly as predicted, leading many fans to believe the script wasn't just a coincidence. But honestly, can't anyone predict how the first round will go? Tyson's age and declining performance explain the fight's pace better than any scripted storyline. Either way, something definitely seemed off with this Showtime fight.
And, Mike, this is what Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money, Jake Paul is, I don't have to tell you guys, you guys know, Mike Tyson is the A++++ side of that thing.
During the fight, Jake Paul played it smart. He kept his distance, avoided risky exchanges, and relied heavily on his youth and stamina. A knockout would have made a bold statement, but simply surviving 8 rounds and winning on points was enough for him to claim victory over a boxing legend. The narrative practically wrote itself. Jake Paul, the underdog influencer, takes down the great Mike Tyson.
He's doing it. What do I think of the Mike Tyson fight?
Yes.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and who was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
As always, Dana White didn't hold back in his criticism of Jake Paul. White has long been a vocal opponent of influencer boxing, calling it a spectacle that undermines the authenticity of combat sports. He's accused Paul of cherry-picking opponents and focusing more on showmanship than actual athletic skill.
If he wants to do boxing, why not fight guys that actually box for a living?
100%. Fight guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?
He says he wants to fight Canelo.
To Dana White, this fight was just another example of how boxing is strayed from its roots. Jake Paul's rise in the sport, driven by social media fame and controversy, has been a thorn in White's side for years. The Tyson fight only fueled White's frustration, giving him more reason to call Paul a fraudulent fighter. The real elephant in the ring, however, was money. Mike Tyson reportedly walked away with a cool $20 million for just one night of work.
Do you think Mike Tyson would lose a fight to earn some more money? He's already getting $20 million for the fight. Does he want to do this for another $5 million or $20 million? Or how much more money would he need to get paid to actually lose the fight?
Here's where things get tricky. Olympic medalist Tony Jeffries was quick to point out that Tyson doesn't really need the money. The man has a successful cannabis business, endorsements, and royalties coming in. He's not exactly struggling financially. That's why the idea that Tyson intentionally threw the fight doesn't make sense to many analysts. Why risk ruining your legacy for money you don't even need?
Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him compete.
And what about Jake Paul? While his exact earnings aren't public, estimates put his haul in the 10 to 15 million range when you factor in his cut of pay-per-view sales. Not bad for someone who started out filming pranks on YouTube. But for Paul, money is only part of the equation. The real payoff was the boost to his brand. Beating Mike Tyson, that headline practically sells itself. Never mind that Tyson is nearly 30 years old. The optics are what matter. Let's be honest, Jake is a master at crafting a narrative that keeps people talking and paying.
Believe that he was making the money he says he's making, Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying him.
So, was it all about the money for Tyson? Maybe not entirely. For Jake, absolutely. But beyond the dollars and cents, the real question is whether the entertainment value of the fight justified all the controversy. The answer depends on who you ask. Purists will call it a disgrace to the sport, a cash grab disguised as competition. On the other hand, fans of spectacle will argue it was worth every penny. Love it or hate it, people watched. And that's the bottom line. Here's the harsh truth. Boxing isn't what it used to be. It used to be all about skill, grit, and the pursuit of greatness. Now it's about influencer showdowns, YouTuber spectacles, and celebrity grudge matches. The Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson fight is just the latest example of how the sport is changing. And not everyone is happy about it.
What people expected, Mike's almost 60 years old. He's Mike Tyson, but he's 60 years old. And he knew that Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. So you knew what you were going to get when you saw that fight. But you can't be mad. It was fucking free. We all got Netflix anyway.
Dana White has been one of the loudest critics of this new era of boxing. To him, these fights are little more than carnival attractions. And he's not alone. Hardcore boxing fans and traditionalists see these events as a slap in the face to the sport's rich history.
And for Netflix, this thing was brilliant because you knew it was going to pull a massive number because of Mike Tyson, right? And to be fair to Jake, you're going to tune in to watch him get knocked out, hopefully, right? That's what everybody wants to see.
But these fights are wildly popular. People tune in, tickets sell out, and pay-per-view numbers soar. For a younger audience that values entertainment over authenticity, matches like these are pure gold. Why sit through 12 rounds of technical boxing when you can watch Jake Paul trash-talk his way to a win over a legend? It's no longer about who's the best, but who can put on the best show. If the success of fights like Jake versus Tyson is any indication, boxing is heading into a new era where the line between sport and spectacle is nearly gone. Whether that's a good or bad thing is up for debate. The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight wasn't just a clash in the ring. It sparked a controversy that has divided fans, critics, and the sport itself. Dana White's harsh comments were less about Jake or Tyson individually and more about what this fight represents. But let's not ignore the other side. The entertainment value was undeniable. Fans got the drama, the storylines, and the viral moments they craved. Still, the question remains, is this shift toward influencer-driven boxing worth sacrificing the soul of the sport? Can boxing find a way to balance entertaining the masses while honoring its legacy of skill and competition?